Okay, so you got that agent, you found it. Let's say you found Robert, okay? Now it's like, okay, Robert, this is what I want to do. Now, how do we go about doing it? And I think the financing piece, again, we're going to beat this drum a lot. The financing piece is just so important. Robert, if someone was working with you and they said, okay, what do I want to do with my financing? Because, let's just paint, a scenario. Like, I've been sitting living with mom and dad. I've been doing all the right things. I've saved 20% down. Like, I can pretty much buy or use any kind of financing I want. What would you tell them as far as, okay, here's how you want to finance this micro flip if you're going to execute it on your own personal residence?
Well, I mean, so if you have 20% down, I would say keep 15% of that money in your pocket and put 5% down so you have cash to be able to fix up the house. And because that's what you want to do. It makes no sense to put 20% of your money into the property when you're going to create equity with it by fixing it up. You could always
plus you want reserves, right? Because one thing you and I both know is like it never goes exactly how you plan. So you better have some cash to make up the difference.
You got to have some cash on hand. So if you have that cash there, then you can be able to bank it over 2 years, have it ready to deploy when you get good deals. Like, get good deal on appliances, Black Friday sale, go buy your appliances, right? So it's just being thrifty, I think, in a lot of that, and just being very smart to be able to walk through that process. But, there's also other options out there. There's that FHA 203K loan. If you are the type of person that can't live in something and fix it up, you could go the FHA 203K route. I think that's what it's called. Work with a contractor, get your whole home fixed up, and then live in it for 2 years and then sell it. So there's a strategy there. You might not make as much, but at least you got the home cleaned up beforehand, But most people, like with this strategy, you should just focus on living in it and doing the small updates over time and only putting 5% down and banking your money to be able to deploy it inside the house versus just give it to the bank to hold.
And Robert, before we got on, you were saying, okay, well, so how do I finance the remodeling costs? And you're like, well, you do it in cash, right? And I think that brings in the strategy of, if you put as little amount down on the purchase of the property, you have all this cash. You can then use this cash to buy the things that you need or pay the contractor or buy the materials. Go over that, because that was the strategy that you used when you did.
Yeah. And I actually, so I got in with the least amount down. I didn't even have 20%. So I was just working, overtime at the fire department, take my overtime money and put it into my house is pretty much what I was doing. So I got really creative and I started using like Best Buy, Home Depot, Lowe's, all the local stores. I get their credit cards where they would always do 12, 24, sometimes 36 months. No interest. I buy my appliances like that. I buy all my materials, at Home Depot or Lowe's for the house. Like, pretty much every one of those houses were probably built with Home Depot and Lowe's interior stuff, because they would give me that. And I'd make the payment that I would have to make in order to probably get that thing paid off, inside of the 24 months, or even or at least the 12 months. I'd be like, okay, now I got to pay this per month on it. So that way I could still be ahead, maybe get materials and then save my cash again to actually use it for somebody else to do labor. I did a lot of labor, but there's certain things you just have to bring people in. If you're not good at tile, probably shouldn't go and attempt to do tile the first time. If you haven't had a good experience with that, or if you're not handy, don't do things that you're probably not really good at doing.
That will kill you. That will kill you when you go to sell, is if an agent walks in and says, oh my gosh, who's the rookie that did all this? That is not going to be in your best interest.
It's not going to be in your best
But
interest.
You see it all the time.
But if you're that type of person that can watch videos, do everything, and you're super, handy, and you can figure it out and you can do a really good job because you got that attention to detail, which is kind of how I was. I was able to do all that stuff. I could trim out my houses, do all that type of stuff, but I wasn't going to paint it, So that was the area where it's like, I don't have that level of detail. So I called a painter to come in and make sure that they paint everything. I wasn't going to do drywall, like if I had to patch something, because I tore out something, I wasn't going to do that myself, So there's all those things, but I would go to Home Depot and tell them, what materials do you need? You want drywall? I'll go get it. You want patch? What type of mud? Like, what is it? Tell me what to get, so I could get it all there and just break out and only pay labor costs.
And I like your strategy where you're leveraging credit. I just want everybody to know that as an investor, when you start leveraging or going too deep into leverage, that's when you can get burned. So you need to be very disciplined with your funds. Because if you're leveraging $5,000 on a Lowe's credit card, you need to have a way to pay that off, because you don't want to be paying 23% interest. That's the game that they're playing, is that they're hoping that you don't pay it off, so you pay 23% interest. So you need to be very fiscally responsible as far as, like, if you're going to use leverage, know how to play the game and play it right, because you don't want to be caught in that endless black hole of interest.